So I just got back from seeing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by the new Quentin Tarantino film. And Quentin Tarantino is my favorite director of all time. Django, Inglorious Bastards, Pulp Fiction, and Kill Bill are probably four of my top 15 favorite movies of all time. And I would watch literally anything that Quentin Tarantino would ever make. I haven't seen Reservoir Dogs yet. I've never seen like Jackie Brown or whatever it's called, but everything else he's ever done, I've fucking seen it, and it's all great. But I was going into this movie expecting it to be just like, like a Django or like a Kill Bill or like something else. And if that's what you're expecting, then you will not like this movie at all. And I mean, I still really, really enjoyed it because the acting was unbelievably good. Leonardo DiCaprio was perfect. Brad Pitt was perfect. Margot Robbie was pointless. She was just absolutely pointless. This movie is the first time I've ever seen in my life a movie with a red herring that lasts throughout the entire movie, but also a Chekhov's gun that lasts through the entire movie. Not going to spoil anything, but let's just say the one thing I didn't watch the trailers. I didn't look up the plot summaries or anything. I wanted to go into this movie completely fresh and neutral and just wondering what was going to happen. And I knew it took place during 1969 in Hollywood. So there was one thing that I was expecting to happen the whole time, and that is just about the only thing that didn't happen. It was the ultimate red herring. I honestly did not. I was expecting one thing. I was expecting the most Quentin Tarantino thing to happen in this movie, and just didn't come. It made you think it was, and then nothing happened. But there was also a Chekhov's gun. In this case, a literal Chekhov's gun, which I thought was kind of funny. And that was just something you didn't. That was the last thing that I expected was for that to happen. I know it sounds like I'm going off and rambling on a tangent here that makes no sense, but I just don't want to spoil anything for you. But really, this movie should not be spoiled because it's the ending. The last 10 minutes are batshit crazy, but the first 2.5 hours are really slow, deliberate, methodical, really character building scenes. And the character building in this was amazing. Leonardo DiCaprio's plot was great. It was basically him trying to reestablish himself as an actor and seeing all the stuff like actors go through, like having trouble finishing his lines and talking to other actors on the set and talk about like whether or not to be a method actor or like be completely all in or to just study the lines while you're drinking or stuff like that, and like losing your shit when you don't get a line right, going up against a really good actor that you're trying to outclass sort of thing. But that happened, and then it was gone really. And then Brad Pitt's storyline, he's Leonardo DiCaprio's stuntman. His name's Cliff. I think he has the best storyline. Leonardo DiCaprio's storyline was fantastic, but Cliff's storyline was really different. Really, you just have no idea where it's going, what's going to happen, what kind of things they can do with his character, or just you don't know what to expect, so you're watching it feeling really fucking. And then he meets with like part of the Manson family, and it's really intense and really you just don't know, and you're on the edge of your seat thinking, oh, what's gonna happen now? What's gonna happen now? What's gonna happen now? What's gonna happen next? And blah blah, all this stuff. And I don't know. I can't really say much more about it without spoiling it. But the cinematography was great. The movie honestly did feel like late '60s, early '70s Hollywood. It was a lot of the scenes were shot in like the old school ratio with the black and white. And then there was like the camera angles that like they would do during the shows would be very like that. And then there were parts of the movie where it literally just like one scene in particular that it was in the middle of a conversation, it just cut like the most obvious deliberate cut to just the same conversation but like 30 seconds past that, and both characters were wearing like different clothes. And I think it was a joke. It was supposed to be for like the comedic element of it, which this movie did very strongly. Actually, the comedy in this movie was great. Very dark, black comedy, but everybody in the theater when I saw it was laughing at the same time I was. It was really funny, but it's just, man, it's different. This is the most different movie I've ever seen. I was thinking about it in the car driving back. This is a really hard movie for me to like rate, because like I can give Django a 10, I can give Kill Bill a 10, Inglourious Bastards a 10. I can give those movies 10s easily. This movie, I don't know whether I would give it a 5 or a 9.5, because it was just, maybe I just don't understand it. Because there's certain movies that sometimes things go over my head, like in No Country for Old Men. Like, I loved that movie. But there were a ton of things that happened in that movie that just completely flew by my head. Like the scene where he checks his boots after he kills Woody Harrelson's character. And because you see him check his boots or whatever, and he makes sure he doesn't get blood on him, later on in the movie, when he meets Josh Brolin's wife, you don't know whether he kills her or not, and then he walks out of the house, checks his boots, and walks away. I had no fucking idea what happened. Looking back on it, it should have been completely obvious. But at the time, I had no idea. In this movie, I really, really have to think about it more. I'm going to be thinking about this movie all fucking night. Alright, well, I'll wrap this up. Go see it. It's great, just like all Quentin Tarantino movies. Go in with no expectations. Good or bad, don't expect anything. And just sit there and just watch the masterclass that Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt do. And just know that there is a huge red herring in the movie. And I don't know. I really don't know. I think I'd give this movie probably an 8 out of 10. I think I would give the acting, cinematography, direction, writing, I'd give that all a 10. Because the stuff that this movie does well, it does extremely well. But the things that this movie doesn't do particularly well on, it's not even that it doesn't do things particularly well, it's that I think Quentin Tarantino deliberately made part of this movie just to fuck with people. I really think that he was trying to fuck with people's heads going through this whole movie and make you expect one thing and not expect something and have nothing really go anywhere for the longest time before things just happen. But then you don't know what's happening or why it's happening or when it's going to happen. You just don't fucking know. Alright, well, okay, yep, I'm going to go with 8 out of 10, wrap this up. Definitely go see it. It was unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, that's about it.